Hello and welcome to the show. Today we have a very special guest, but before we start the show, let's have a talk with the producer.
Thank you for coming in today. Now, before we start the show, I want to thank the Cable 6 Studios for sponsoring us and providing us with the location of filming. Also, we have another sponsor for today called the Absolute Films Film Studios. They also helped us with the technical side of it, so thank you, and back to you, Leila.
Oh wow, Cindy's here!
Hi, Leila.
Hi.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Sure.
Wow, glad to be here.
I want to get back to your acting career. What was your first acting job and who taught you to act?
My very first acting job, I was in the first grade, and, and my teacher had written a play for May 1st, May Day, and I was cast as Kahiki, a new girl coming to school from Hawaii. And I learned how to play the auto harp, and we learned how to do Hawaiian dancing with bamboo sticks. And so that was my very first acting job, and it sort of started me on this very long path.
Tell me about some of your most popular films.
Ones that I've watched for fun, or ones that that I've been in, that I've enjoyed working on.
Ones that you have been in.
The film that I was in, that I actually did a voiceover on, that I wasn't on camera. It's called Bottom, and it's been making some of the film festival circuits over the last year. It's an amazing film. It's about a couple, and one of the gentleman is dying, and it's very personal, and it's his birthday, and so it's just this really, it sounds really sad, but it's this wonderful celebration of his life. And I'm sorry, the name of that film is called Promise, actually.
Yeah.
So that one's called Promise, and that was so interesting to do that film because it had all been shot before I showed up on stage, and they ran a TV monitor scene, and the character who starts off is talking on the phone to his mother, and I play his mother. So all I did was I held a phone up to my ear and watched the video play the movie, and as he spoke, I would say my lines, and I had to time it perfectly because he had already shot his lines, and what I answered had to fit perfectly into this little window of what he was doing. So that was a lot of fun.
What does your husband do? My
husband is an attorney. He is a partner in a law firm, and their primary business is handling cases for people who have a disease called mesothelioma. You get it by being exposed to asbestos, and that's what he does now as his real job. But he is an actor at heart, and when I first moved here many years ago and started studying at Playhouse West, he was one of my teachers. So my husband is an actor as well.
Are the kids embarrassed because of all of the show, the acting?
Yeah, sometimes they are. It's kind of weird around my house. Sometimes we'll just break out into song or crazy dances, or we'll be sitting at the table. My husband and I have actually been in the middle of sometimes husbands and wives don't agree, and so we're having a little moment, and we're sort of back and forth. Okay. And my husband will look at me and go, "What's good about this?" And he'll go, "Remember this for your acting." And so we'll just start laughing. It's a way to break each other up because, we can find fun in what we're doing.
Now, you told me that your husband, he deals with people who have mesothelioma. Yes.
It took me a long time to say it, too.
I'm sure it did. But since you guys have multiple jobs, how does that affect you guys?
We have it's our life, and we've been doing it for many years. His firm is based out of St. Louis, so he's really gone most of the week, Monday through Friday, and is only home on the weekends. And I remember one day some students, when they discovered that, they were asking me, so how's that work for you? And I said, we've been married 18 years. So it's actually pretty good. So out of 18 years, I've probably seen him 9 years. So it's really great.
What was the hardest movie to film?
One of the hardest movies to film, probably that one, Bikini Summer 3, just because it was very hot in Miami and limited resources, and we were outside, and the shoot was probably like 20-hour days is what it felt like, between shooting during the daytime, and since we had to prep in the evening, and we were up hour after hour. I mean, I probably in the entire month of February, when we shot the film, I got like 4 hours sleep, like 1 hour a week, it felt like.
That's insane.
It was
you must have been very tired. And,
I
How
was
did you deal
really
with that?
tired.
You had to come to the set the next day after getting like 1 hour or maybe even less of sleep.
Yeah, fortunately I was young, and, and I was young then, and young people can go on very little sleep. But when it was over, it took about a month to shoot. When I got home, I think I slept for about a week afterwards.
How long does it take to usually film a movie?
Yeah, it really depends on how involved it is. You know, a Steven Spielberg film that is an epic with lots of special effects or a long, a story, could take years. The movie Lincoln, I think it was several years in the making from the very first idea being written on paper to the point at which the movie was done and in the theaters. But the Playhouse West and some other small theaters have what are called, 72-hour film festivals, which are like...
I've heard about those.
Yeah, which are like 3 days long, and then people come in together and they write it and they shoot it and they get it done, and so it can be done in a very short period of time. It just depends on your story and whether or not, you have special effects or if it's on a budget, or like I said, it's people are shooting movies on iPhones now.
Whoa.
So it's very easy to be mobile and put something together quickly.
What do you like about the film Lincoln?
Oh, what didn't I like about the film Lincoln? I loved everything about Lincoln. The transformation that Daniel Day-Lewis made from being Daniel Day-Lewis, who's a very attractive actor. I think he probably even was a people's sexiest man alive, to embodying not just his physical hunched over shoulders and the top hat and the beard of Lincoln, but his voice and his mannerisms. I would have liked to have believed that if I had ever gotten to meet Abraham Lincoln, that he would have been just like Daniel Day-Lewis. And fortunately, at the time the movie came out, I am a member of the Screen Actors Guild, and I had an opportunity to get to go to a screening where Daniel Day-Lewis was on the panel to talk about his experiences in doing the film, and Sally Field was there, and James Spader, and some of the other actors, and that was quite a treat to hear him talk about his experience as an actor to work on Lincoln.
How do you prepare for a big scene before a movie?
A lot of different ways. Sometimes just quiet and meditate and think. Sometimes I run the lines in my head over and over again to make sure I am familiar with what I'm doing. But mostly I really just try to center myself and believe that I'm really going to do what I'm about to do, and relax and just tell myself, especially when it's plays, when it's live, because sometimes it's not so much that you're word perfect on what you're doing, but that you just do what you're doing and be truthful about it, and it will sort of come together. And trust that, if I'm sitting down and having breakfast and I'm talking about what are you doing today, there's a script that's written out for it, but I've done that a million times like you have too. And so just being a human being and having that conversation about starting the day. So I try to do that just to make sure that I fully believe that I am about to do what I'm about to do, and just try and live it out as truthfully as I can.
Now, as humans age, their memory gets worse, or other parts, they get wrinkles.
Yeah, I know.
How does this affect you, like, in your acting career?
Well, I do different things now. I mean, that is, unfortunately, in the commercial industry, in television and the films that we're seeing on the big screen now, there are some older actors. A lot of it is very young, and that's as it should be. I mean, young people are beautiful to look at, and they're vibrant, and they're full of life, and everybody wants to look at that. And when you're a little kid, you want to look like 20-year-olds, and when you're older, you just want to have that vim and vigor again. But there are opportunities. There are plenty of plays that have a place for older actors, and there have been some parts like Gloria Stewart in Titanic. She was in her late 80s. Jessica Tandy in Driving Miss Daisy. She was very old. She got an Academy Award for that. So there is something to do as you keep aging. My biggest dream is that one day maybe nothing happens in terms of making me a household name until I'm like 90 years old, and then I can be like Gloria Stewart and throw a gem in the ocean at the end of a movie, and all of a sudden it's like, I made it.
Have you ever been filmed in a bikini?
Yes.
Are your kids embarrassed?
I hope not. Generally, my bikini work was when I was about 18 to 30 years old, so I probably looked a lot better in a bikini then than I do now.
Were you embarrassed when you were being filmed?
No, you know what? I wasn't, and I have been in films where I was wearing less than a bikini, and I've just gotten very comfortable with what I'm doing, and I've done some stage work where I was, kind of in a bikini type thing. It doesn't really bother me. Just kind of used to it. When I'm backstage, it's quick changes. Even at Welcome Home Soldier, there's so many people around, and I figured they're all doing what they're doing. Nobody's looking at me. Just whipping my stuff off and getting dressed and moving on about my business. If anybody can see anything in that much time, I mean, what are you gonna do?
That's good advice. So, what's your dream role?
Oh gosh, what is my dream role? I get, it's been different over time. When I was younger, I wanted to be an action hero, sort of Angelina Jolie, and but now that I'm older, I guess my dream role would really be something along the lines like Sissy Spacek did a movie several years ago called Night Mother, and she was a woman who had epilepsy, and her life just wasn't satisfying, and was very deep and difficult for her and challenging. So I think, things along those lines, that you kind of struggle with a problem and you're unsure of what you're going to do about it. I think that those are really interesting, complex roles, and they excite me. So we'll see.
When you were at your peak of acting, did many guys approach you for dating?
No.
No.
No. Maybe I haven't met. Maybe I'm not at my peak yet. We'll have to see. But now I'm married, so it won't matter. I had good friends, and I had friends, and I certainly had people that I dated. But when I was really involved in pursuing acting early on as a career, I had more friends than that. I really was focused on what I was doing, and so dating really was secondary. Plus, I had to make a living. I had to pay my bills and my rent and everything else, my acting classes. So I didn't have a lot of time to date. And then I met my husband and got married. So.
Did you have a boyfriend in high school?
I did have a boyfriend in high school.
Did you guys break up or no?
Oh gosh, yes. We broke up. In fact, before I moved to Los Angeles, in my late 20s, I had been dating someone. We had been together for 7 years, and we just reached a point in our relationship where it was time to move on. And that was really what was a turning point for me, because although I had always wanted to come to Los Angeles and act, I was working locally in San Antonio and really enjoying what I was doing and doing commercial work. But once we broke up, I thought, why am I still here? And it was just the push I needed to pick up and move away and try something different and branch out. And so it's all worked out pretty good.
I'm pretty sure he regrets that when you break up.
Oh, it was
when you broke up.
The funniest story is that the guy that I was dating then was he had an animation company, so he did computer animation on films and in commercials, and he was working on a movie called By Dawn's Early Light, and he had done some animation on that film. Well, my husband now, who was in Los Angeles at the time, had a small part in that film. He was working in the control tower, and James Earl Jones tells him to do something. They maneuver this plane. And so I didn't know all those years ago that the guy I was dating at the time was working on a film that my future husband ended up being in. So it's a fun story for us to think about all those years later.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good question. That's a good. Well, when you were famous, did people know your name?
When I lived in San Antonio, I was a local personality, and so I had people who would stop me in the store and ask for autographs and things like that. They knew me. And one time here, I got stopped in a Ralph's. Someone had come to see Welcome Home Soldier, and the woman came up to me in Ralph's and said, I just saw you in this play on Saturday night. And she was very lovely, and it felt good.
Wow.
And, it always feels special when people acknowledge the work that you did and say they really liked what you did and that you made them feel something, and that's what really means something to me.
Has anyone in particular influenced your career in acting?
I think there are actresses whose work I've seen that I really admire, and of course there's Meryl Streep, because she is so versatile in the characters that she's done, and Kramer versus Kramer, one of her early films, really was a film that touched me deeply and moved me in ways that I hoped one day that I would do work and people would feel deep in their heart or their soul like I felt watching her do that movie.
What are your favorite roles to play?
Well, in the play Welcome Home Soldier that I do, being the mom at the wall means a lot to me. Years ago, when I was at Playhouse, there was a woman named Kristen.